Iraq's prime minister has promised a tough crackdown on armed militants in the country. Nouri al-Maliki said anyone involved in setting up militant groups will be brought to justice regardless of who they are. He said insurgent groups will drag Iraq backwards if they are not handled properly. His comments follow a series of attacks by local militants against security personnel and government buildings in the country. Dozens were killed last week alone after Iraqi forces clashed with militant groups in the northern city of Kirkuk. The standoff triggered deadly unrest in several parts of Iraq. Let's bring in the director of Iraqi Democrats Against Occupation, Sabah Jawad, to share his thoughts on this. Sabah Jawad, Nouri al-Maliki's statement, anyone involved in forming militant groups will be brought to justice regardless of who they are. It's almost as if he knows who they are and this is a message to them. Is that how you read it?
Well, there are new formations taking place in Iraq, and this increased sectarian tension, and and the demonstration and the government action against it. You see a lot of voices are raised, sectarian voices, trying to foment unrest in Iraq, and quite a lot of these people suspected of having a strong link with regional powers like Turkey and Qatar and so on. And this is part and parcel of what's happening in the Middle East at the moment. It's not only in Syria, it's spreading to Iraq, it's spreading to Lebanon. There is high tension in Lebanon as well. And there is a lot of sinister plans by the Arab regimes and Turkey, supported by the United States, Israel, and Britain, and regard suffocating the Palestinian resistance. In fact, the recent trip by the Arab League ministers to Washington, very much an indicator of that. I mean, they are offering the Israelis an exchange of territories. So basically, they are blessing the settlement, Zionist settlement in Israel, on the ground, actually, that they might get some other land back.
And since we're looking at Iraq in this segment here, are we looking at this plan of partitioning Iraq into three parts that was thrown around quite some time ago? Is that similar to, of course, what we're seeing in Syria, perhaps, now being or trying to be executed in Iraq?
Well, some political forces and political personalities in Iraq openly talking about partition in Iraq. In fact, the leader of the Iraqi parliament have stated that he believes in a Sunni Shia partitions, and he supported the Biden plan. And there is also some Shia voices. For example, today in Dhikar, the governor of Dhikar says actually the Shia should separate from Sunni to establish their own province in Iraq. So you have the Kurdish on the one hand, you have the Sunni and the Shia, and all this is an attempt by the United States and some regional powers to fragment countries, especially important countries in the Middle East like Iraq, Syria, Egypt, and so on, and leave the people there to fight among themselves. And the politicians become leaders of their own sects and tribes, like actually the political situation in Lebanon. So there is an implications of a new Sykes-Picot plan for the Middle East to fragment the area and to make the people busy killing each other while the United States get away with murder and loot the economies.
Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. Sabah Jawad, Director of Iraqi Democrats Against Occupation from London.